Right off the bat, let's dispense with the whole objectivity thing. No one's always right objectively, but you can use tricks and sophistry when logic and facts aren't on your side to always be right in an argument. The whole goal here is to try to win. It's an intellectual war, ergo all is fair in love and arguments. I think Sun Tzu said that once. This is going to be an abridged list of dirty little tricks taken from Arthur Schopenhauer's book, The Art of Being Right. The full book and audiobook is linked below. I've just picked my favorites. Let's get into it. First, postulate what has to be proved. This is where you bring up a conclusion as if it were a premise. It's also known as begging the question. Here's an example.
I began this campaign because I was so tired of seeing such foolish things happen to our country.
Notice how he says, the reason I began this campaign is because the country was doing so poorly. He never proves how the country is doing poorly or why it's doing poorly. He states it as a matter of fact up front. Postulate what has to be proved. This is a great way to sneak your point past the goalposts. Next, choose your definitions. This works best at the start of an argument. If you want to control the conversation, try to control the definitions. What someone might call extremism, another person might call passion. What some call a right to assembly, others might call disrespectful or disruptive. Here's an example from a recent debate. Pay attention to how much time is spent framing the other person's position, and conversely, how much the other one fights against this framing. They both know that the words you use to define the other person's position is everything.
He ran as a socialist, an unabashed socialist.
No, I ran as an independent, longest-serving independent in the history of the United States Congress.
Are you a socialist or not?
I am a democratic socialist, similar to the folks. Okay. But don't tell me I didn't run as a socialist. I ran as an independent.
You told people you were a socialist. Fine.
You didn't run as a right-winger. You ran as a Republican, right?
I am happily a conservative.
Conservative, all right.
I am happily a conservative.
Frame the conversation your way. No matter if you're talking about gender or unemployment, how you define it is everything. Number 3, persuade the audience, not the opponent. If you're in front of an audience tactically, it doesn't matter if the person to your left or right agrees with you, only the crowd. This is pretty easy. It's the quip, the one-liner, whatever gets the laugh. The most important thing to remember here is the audience isn't just there to see who objectively wins. It's a spectacle. They want to laugh. They want to see who looks more composed under the lights.
I have as much experience in the Congress as Jack Kennedy did when he sought the presidency.
Senator, I served with Jack Kennedy. I knew Jack Kennedy. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
If you notice, the opponent seems to wither after this line, but he really didn't say much at all. Number 4, the Kafka trap. This is a particularly rude trick. Frame an accusation such that the denial is only further evidence of guilt. Think the Red Scare or witch hunts. When you accuse someone of something and they refuse it, just say, oh, that's what someone like that would say. Here's an example from Monty Python.
I'm not the Messiah. Will you please listen? I am not the Messiah. Do you understand? Honestly.
Only the true Messiah denies his divinity.
What? Well, what sort of chance does that give me?
If you deny it, you did it. That's a Kafka trap. 5. Arguments ad hominem. If all else fails you, personal attacks are always a great diversion to get off a particular point you're losing. The examples here are endless.
I think we can have a rational political conversation about balancing rights and risks and rewards of all of these different policies, but I don't think that what we need to do is demonize people on the other side as being unfeeling about what happened in San Diego.
How dare you accuse me of standing on the graves of the children that died there? How dare you?
I've seen you do it repeatedly, Piers.
Like I say, how dare you?
Hire people illegally and entered a $1 million judgment against them.
I got along with everybody. You get along with nobody. You don't have one Republican. You don't have one Republican senator, and you work with them every day of your life, although you skipped a lot of time. These are minor details. But you don't have one Republican senator backing you, not one. You don't have the endorsement of one Republican senator, and you work with these people.
Senator Cruz.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Notice how in both cases, ad hominem was used to distract, to deflect the underpinning question. This technique is very effective. And finally, we come to number 6, the absurd proposition. This is where you offer an extreme scenario where you equate things that aren't equal at all. But if you disguise it well enough, and if your opponent can't find where your argument is falling apart, it can pressure them into agreeing with your point. Here's another example a la South Park.
Are you guys dumb? We can't beat him, even with all of us. It's a waste of time. Clyde! If you had a chance right now to go back in time and stop Hitler, wouldn't you do it? I'm just gonna stop playing. When Hitler rose to power, there were a lot of people who just stopped playing. You know who those people were? The French. Are you French, Clyde? No. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi, Clyde? All right, I'll do it.
If your opponent doesn't spot the trick, this is a particularly effective tactic. That's everything I'm going to give you, scoundrels, right now. The full list is in Arthur Schopenhauer's book. The secret is to disguise these within an argument so that people don't know that you're playing tricks. But if you can do this well, you'll find yourself being right more often than you thought possible. But even if you're trying to be fair and honest in an argument, knowing these is always helpful to keep the other guy honest. Knowing how people want to fight dirty is the best defense to fight clean. But either way, whether you're running for office or in a late night argument, please, fallacy responsibly.